Hello, twisted humans.
Do you find yourself wanting to know more about the latest murder, conspiracy, cult, or haunting?
Then this is the podcast for you. I'm Alicia.
And I'm Sierra, and this is Twisted and Uncorked. Hello and welcome to episode 187 of your favorite podcast. At the request of a very special listener, today I am covering a mysterious death case that, in my eyes, should be considered at the very least unsolved. But as we have been uncovering a lot lately, it seems that this case may have been mishandled by the police. But before we get into all of that, fun facts.
In the time that we are recording this, it is the week of Valentine's Day. When this comes out, it'll be the week after. And I knew that this was going to be a little heavier of an episode, so I decided to share some cheeky little fun facts about Valentine's Day.
Fun.
You may not be shocked to find out that Valentine's Day is expensive, with people spending billions of dollars on cards, chocolates, and flowers around the world. And that candy hearts were given out in the 19th century by a Boston pharmacist who sold candied hearts as medical lozenges for sore throats. So they were never originally sweet treats. He just
very fun.
took advantage of the time of year.
Yeah. Very fun Valentine's Day things. I like it.
What about you?
My fun fact is also multiple little things. Mine is related to children, though. I found this thing, this Instagram site, Instagram account. God, I feel like I'm 800.
Instagram site. Okay.
Yeah. This account, it's called Kids Eat in Color. And listen, I only saw a couple posts from them, so don't take this as me telling you everybody should go follow. I have no idea. Okay. I don't know if these are good people or bad people. It's hard to say these days. But this post specifically was really cool. So it's a post about how instead of saying things like apples are good for you, or carrots will turn you into a bunny, or this food will help you get strong, or whatever, there are specific things that you can say about specific foods to help kids maybe want to eat them. I didn't know these things about these food, and it makes me want to eat them as well. So I'm going to tell you a couple of them. One of them is red food gives you a strong heart. So red food specifically correlates with your heart. That's interesting. Orange food helps you see in the dark. So I've always told that carrots are good for your eyes. That's why it helps you see in the dark. And boy, do I need to be eating more carrots, because as I get older, it's so fucking hard to drive at night. I can't see anything, okay?
I'm glad it's not just me. Me and Alexis had a full conversation about that, about dark with lights, and then when it rains, it's like game over.
I hate driving at night.
See anything.
I only gonna be 32 this year, and I'm already like, oh, it's that late at night. I gotta get a driver. Like Uber, Lyft, husband. I'm not driving.
Somebody that's young and has better eyesight than I do.
Yellow food helps your body heal cuts.
Oh,
very cool.
That is very cool.
Green food helps you fight off sickness. Blue and purple food is good for a strong brain. And white food gives you energy, which makes sense because carbs and
shit. Yeah. That's fun.
It's so cool. I loved it.
You need to send me that if it's on a picture or something, because I like that. There's so much to remember about everything that we put in our body, but that's an all-encompassing, just quick little. I like that.
Speaking of things we can put in our body, what you drinking?
I was gonna say, speaking of red food, today, and me and Sierra are both wearing red too, so that's funny if you're watching this on YouTube. I am drinking a classic red wine sangria. Sierra and I have both felt like our sangria recipes are getting a little bit repetitive, so we are going to be introducing some fun changes into the show in the coming episodes, but you'll have to wait for that. But for today, Kevin actually made the sangria for me because I went grocery shopping after work. So he did a Grand Marnier with a red wine, cranberry juice, apple juice, orange slices and apple slices and the red wine. That's what I'm rocking today. It's quite tasty.
Perfect.
For a man that doesn't really drink, he did a good job.
Yeah.
So, yeah, get your classic winter sangrias while it's still winter. Do you have anything fun?
No, just water today.
No Moscow mules today?
No, I'm trying to go to the gym tomorrow. I'm sore. I'm really sore from the gym, but I want to at least today I didn't go to the gym because okay, long story short, there's a certain routine that they do once every maybe 2 weeks, 1.5 weeks or so that I just do not do. Every time I do it, I get sick. So I don't do it.
Oh, like sick, like vomit
It's
from it
it's
being
an
too
air
much?
bike.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
it's
no.
so you go on the bike and it's literally blowing air into your face,
Yeah, no, thank
and
you.
I've only done it, like, 2 or 3 times because every time I do it, I literally get sick, like, I got pneumonia that one time, I got bronchitis the second time, like, it's blowing into your face,
Yeah, those
which
freak
might
me
be
out.
nice if it was, like, really hot, but first of all, it's cold. Second of all, the gym is fucking dirty. I don't want gym air blowing in my face. So,
Hence
no.
why you've gotten sick.
Right. So I don't
Oh,
go when we do that, and they didn't do that today, and I was glad because I was hurting a little bit, but, the day after, the second day after is always, like, when you're really
soreness,
sore.
yeah, your body,
So,
like, settles.
like, it's nighttime now, and I am sore from yesterday's workout, so I'm like, if I don't go tomorrow, I at least wanna wake up because today I didn't go knowing that it was the air bike and I'm not doing it, and I slept in and I overslept. So tomorrow, even if I don't go, I'm at least gonna wake up at normal time, and so I'm trying not to have anything
Good for you.
too sweet and sugary at night. Anyway, I don't know how we got on this tangent. I'm drinking water.
That's how. It's okay. That is our update on our workout schedules, guys. I too have been trying to go to the gym more, but it's hard. And by gym, I mean my yoga studio. But they
Yeah.
started 6 a.m. classes that my friend is teaching, the one that has
Nice.
the one that I always have wine nights with. So she's teaching Tuesdays and Thursdays from 6 to 7. So I can have what I described as a horror's bath and made Kevin laugh really hard in like the sink and then just
Yeah.
go to work. Because unfortunately they don't have showers there, but it's not
Mm.
quite enough time in between to go home and shower. So poor Robin will just have to deal with my stanky ass 2 days a week.
They don't have showers at your work either?
No.
Lame.
No, I work in a super small office.
Okay, well, anyway, we are going to get into today's crazy case after hearing a quick promo from a new podcast coming out called You Should Be Here. So, today I will be explaining and dissecting the case of Crystal McCrory Jones. There is enough information to make an entire podcast series out of this
Holy
case.
shit. So I'll shut up is what
But
we're saying.
I'm going to condense it into one episode because that's how we do it here. A few other podcasts have covered this case already, including one of my favorites, Without Warning, by the private investigator Sheila Wysocki. If you are a fan of that show, then you have a bit of a spoiler on what this episode is going to be like. This episode is going to be different from a lot of others we've done because much of the information I am reporting on does not come from police or news. This case has been privately investigated by the victim's family, and they have been gracious enough to send us all of the information and photo evidence that they have gathered. So, sources are not, they're somewhat non existent. There's a couple, but not much.
Hey, I trust the victims' families above most
Right.
investigators these days, so
And they gave like photo evidence of every claim that they've made. So, it's really intense.
yeah. Thank you, Jenna, for sending us that and for asking us to cover this as well.
Yes. So let's first talk about who Crystal was. Crystal was a beloved mother, sister, daughter, cousin, friend, and in 2023, she had just learned that she would soon be a grandmother as well. She was a perfectionist who thoroughly enjoyed cleaning and organizing. She loved her dogs, her chickens, and children. In 2023, she and her husband of 5 years, Tony, owned and operated a karate studio for kids. Crystal's family was suspicious of Tony since the beginning of their marriage, mostly because he came on so strong. But they wanted Crystal to be happy, even if that meant moving away from them to wherever Tony kept whisking Crystal away to. She stayed in touch with her family via phone. There were never any reports of abuse in their relationship, but looking back, things about Tony seemed weird. And in January of 2023, it seemed that even Crystal was beginning to notice weird things about her husband, Tony. On the night of January 27th, Crystal's Google account was logged out of her computer and never logged back in. But Tony's was logged in on her computer. With his Google account on her computer, she was able to watch the activity that took place on his phone, since it was also logged into her Google account. A lot of times you'll find, like, on Reddit stories and stuff, that women are like, "Oh, I have his iPad and it's linked to his phone so I can see everything." It's kinda like that, except this wasn't Apple, so the family assumes that Crystal logged out of her account and into Tony's account because she was suspicious of his activity and wanted to watch for proof. The activity they believe she was looking for was cheating and or pedophilic behavior. This might seem like a stretch to some people, but the amount of digging this family has done really has me convinced. In March of 2022, Crystal's computer was found to have searched, quote, "Do teenage girls require father's discipline to thrive?" End quote. And, quote, "Is it best for mom or dad to discipline teenage daughters?" End quote. The reason for these searches was not, according to her family, because Tony was too hard on his biological teen daughter that lived with them, but because he was far too soft on her, letting her get away with anything and always seeming to make Crystal the bad guy when she was just trying to protect the girl. One instance of this was when the teen got Snapchat and Crystal tried to warn her of the dangers of strangers and pedophiles on the app. Tony defended his daughter and the app. But it was still a no go for Crystal, and she made sure the teen had no social media at all. This in itself is not cause for Crystal to think there's anything weird about Tony and his relationship with young girls. But when their karate studio started rapidly losing child aged attendance, that probably made her suspicious. According to a conversation between Crystal's sister and a former worker at the karate studio, Tony was inappropriately working out the girls who he trained, but noticeably only the girls. If the worker noticed the weirdness, I'm sure Crystal, Tony's wife, who was with him all of the time, also noticed it. The worker, actually, allegedly went digging into Tony's background and found out that he had been accused of multiple inappropriate relationships with minors and was charged with at least one, though it seems any conviction either didn't happen or was swept under the rug, which we'll get to later. Because of the information he found, the worker confronted Tony and then, afterwards, had a heated conversation about it with Crystal. But either Crystal didn't have all of the information, Tony had lied to her, or she was just in denial at the time, because she had told her family that the falling out between them and this worker was over a dispute about an air conditioner, as Tony was a freelance, unlicensed handyman. But maybe it was. Why should we believe this random worker dude?
A freelance,
Oh,
unlicensed handyman. Alright.
yeah.
Should I leave it alone? I'm like,
I'll
that's
bring it
not
up
a real
again.
job.
I will for sure bring it up again.
Okay.
Why should we believe this worker guy who's talking shit about Tony? Well, because he wasn't the only person who made these claims to Crystal's family. Tony's ex wife, not the mother of his teen, by the way, said that while they were together, Tony was found guilty of having an inappropriate relationship with a minor by Child Protective Services and was ordered not to be in a home with minor girls going forward.
Oh, and then he had a daughter. Awesome.
This is actually why their relationship ended, according to this conversation.
Okay.
She mentioned that she was suspicious of the karate studio as well, as it would be a great place for Tony to use to continue his inappropriate behavior, but police never seemed to care about what Tony did. Even after CPS wrote up their report and findings and sent it off to the district attorney's office, nothing came from it in the legal department. It seemed to some that Tony had friends in high places.
Oh, no.
One officer from the same station where the DA basically ignored the CPS case was contacted by Crystal's sister and was asked about Tony's inappropriate behavior. All this officer could do for her was advise her to be careful digging into this case, as he seemed to know exactly what she was up against, and there seemed to be nothing he could do about it. How could Tony have any friends that wanted to help him get away with doing terrible things to children? I just have to assume that Tony is a really smooth talker who has explained away the crimes that CPS believed he committed, because I don't want to believe that anyone could be okay with this. But I also know that officers like to take care of their own. And even though Tony was just a freelance, unlicensed handyman, according to Crystal's family, he also seemed to be an employee, or maybe a volunteer, of the same police station that would later investigate this case.
Oh, no.
Although the
Why does this
DA,
always happen?
why? Why does this always happen? And you wonder why people are upset with police. You know?
It's
What
weird.
are you wondering for? Although the DA and the officers currently employed there were adamant that he did not work there, Tony had the sheriff's department listed on his Facebook page that he did. He also had the address saved in his phone as quote unquote work, and he was listed on one of their websites with his picture on there saying he worked there.
Oh,
So you
okay.
can say he doesn't all you want, but like here's all this proof.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's doing, but
Janitorial services.
whether or not he worked there legally, the lead investigator also eventually admitted to having known Tony for 20 years, and therefore he should never have been involved with the case in the first place. This is
Yeah.
a clear conflict of interest. But so many officers lately don't seem to care about biases at all. So let's talk about the case that was being investigated. On February 9th, 2023, Crystal McCrory Jones, daughter, sister, cousin, friend, mother, almost grandmother, was found dead in her home from a single gunshot wound to the head. It was immediately assumed to be self inflicted, as this would not have been Crystal's first attempt at ending her own life. She had known mental health concerns and was taking antidepressants, or as her husband allegedly liked to call them, crazy pills. But her
What an
past suicide.
mm.
Oh, oh.
As somebody that takes medication for stuff, that's not cool.
No. Crystal's past suicide attempt was an overdose, though. So there's that information. Most people will check right out of this episode now. If they hear that someone had mental health issues and then they turn up dead of what could reasonably be considered a suicide, then that's all there is to know. They obviously did it to themselves, and thinking otherwise makes me a conspiracy theorist. Well, first of all, I am. Second of all, you can call me that all you want. I strongly believe that bad people are getting away with hurting their partners by blaming their past mental health problems, and it's disgusting.
It happens all the time. Like,
Yeah.
if it had never happened before, then sure, it could be an unbelievable thought, but it happens every day.
This is Crystal's story, so I'm not going to go too much into it, but if you don't believe me, here's a few names you can Google and find the same thing happened. Christian Andriacchio, Micah Miller, Phoebe Hansjuk, Krista Bauer Gilly, and Ellen Greenberg. The latter two are now being investigated as homicides. But what else points to this case possibly being a homicide instead of a suicide? Well, Crystal was doing things that people who are planning to complete suicide don't usually do, making plans. She was looking into getting a semicolon tattoo. She was excited about her new grandbaby on the way and making plans to
Yeah.
go visit. Although Tony made a rude comment about how expensive it will be to go visit.
Fuck off.
She also took a screenshot of Tony's location at a hotel, probably assuming he was cheating on her, but that didn't stop her from planning. It seemed she was doing things for her now, not for the marriage. Crystal
Ugh,
had, in the last couple of months, gone back to work as an insurance agent and was continuing her education. She received a certificate of completion with a 96% score and took a photo with it, surely proud of herself. She also took photos of her groceries neatly organized in her cabinets, like the home edit style organizing was her superpower. And the very day that she passed away, that morning, she had called her doctor to make an appointment reviewing her mental health medication. People who are planning to do something drastic don't make plans, and they don't usually try
especially
to
not to,
fix the
like, better
problem.
themselves, yeah.
Exactly. They don't feel hopeful that it can be fixed. They feel hopeless.
Yeah,
She was clearly hopeful.
yeah. The semicolon tattoo is a big thing for me
Yeah,
because that's usually a symbol of things always continuing.
exactly. A semicolon in a period is literally a spot where you could put, did I say in a period?
Yeah,
A semicolon in a sentence is literally a spot where you could decide to put a period, but decide to continue the sentence. And in life, people like to get that as a tattoo to decide they could have decided to end their life, but instead decided to
yeah,
keep going. So she was trying to keep going.
yeah. Oh, this is heartbreaking. I'm so sorry for her family.
None of that mattered to police. When they saw a woman with a single gunshot wound to the head, with a history of mental health concerns, and a husband who they knew very well, who told them she was depressed, they had already decided in their minds that this was a suicide, even though there was a pillow over her head when she was found.
What?
Yeah, what? Anyway, in the initial interview with Tony, the officer questioning him about his whereabouts that day literally says that they are investigating a quote unquote self inflicted single gunshot wound to the head. That's what the officer said to Tony, the husband, who's supposed to be like, oh, if this is bad, he's the main suspect. He says, I heard it and listened to it, okay? He says the word self inflicted single gunshot wound. You can't say that. You're investigating. You don't know who inflicted it. You don't know it was, ugh.
Yeah,
Sorry. This whole case stresses me out.
but it's extra sad that it's not the first of its kind, which is why it's like I understand the frustration and the pain and the just ugh.
So the interview also only lasted about 7 minutes on the record. There was approximately 30 minutes of unaccounted for time, not including drive time, in between Tony leaving his home where his wife's body was and arriving at the police station to give the 7-minute interview. But, we're just going to gloss over that because that's what the police did.
That's fine. Yeah.
This is what Tony says happened. He says he had a refrigerator job that morning. He called his wife on the long drive towards home after. She was really quiet. He asked if she was okay. She said something about feeling depressed and making an appointment to see her doctor later that day. They got off the phone and he went to his next job at the school where he was for the rest of the workday. After he finished the job at the school, he checked out his daughter early since he was already there. They went to grab a snack. He tried to call his wife but couldn't get a hold of her. He called the doctor's office and asked if she was still there. They said she never came in. So he called his neighbor, who used to be a cop, and asked him to go to their
Of course
house
he
and
did.
check on her. The neighbor said her car is there. Tony said, the door is unlocked. Go in and check on her. The neighbor went in and found her body in the bedroom, told Tony that she was there and that she was gone. Tony said he had a feeling it was going to happen today. Why did he have someone else go check on her if he was down the street getting food with his daughter? Why did he know the door would be unlocked? Why didn't he do anything to prevent this if he had a feeling it was going to
Yeah, I
happen?
was gonna say, if I had a feeling my spouse was in a bad place, I would stay home with them. I would make
These are all
arrangements to
things
be with this person. Yeah,
he admitted. Like, imagine
sure.
the things he's not admitting.
That just sounds so calculated too, like listing something off of a checklist. Like, "Oh,
Yeah.
yep, yep. Oh, I've got my alibi.
Also,
Oh, I knew that this was gonna
yeah,
happen. Oh,
you had okay. He was literally, like, 14 minutes away from his house when he called his neighbor and asked his neighbor to go check on her. Drive 14 minutes and
Yeah,
check on her your fucking self. Like,
yeah,
what?
yeah. It's weird.
Okay.
Seems
So,
calculated.
from what we've already learned about Crystal and Tony, it seems that if she really was tracking his location and finding out that he was possibly having inappropriate relationships with underage girls, and if she confronted him or he found out she knew, then he would have a motive to want her dead. But did he have the opportunity or the means? And it is now time to dig into the investigation the way police should have from the beginning. So, Crystal was a very meticulous person, a perfectionist, remember? Her family believes that she would have left a suicide note to someone, at the very least her own children, but she didn't. They couldn't find one anywhere. So her family asked Tony for Crystal's computer to see if there was one on there somewhere. That was when they noticed that Crystal had logged in to Tony's account and had been watching him, and they learned all kinds of strange things. Tony's Google account being logged into the computer meant his phone, which was logged into his Google account, could be tracked. They couldn't read text messages or see a call history, but they could see a lot of other things. They could see that a few days before Crystal's death, someone turned off the Ring doorbell cameras and then deleted the email that alerted Tony's email that the cameras were turned off. So in Tony's deleted emails was one that says, "Alert, your Ring doorbell cameras are turned off." He saw it and deleted it. Hmm. They could see that the day before her death, Tony paid $150 to fix his broken cell phone, and then multiple contacts were deleted out of Tony's phone. The contacts were Some of the contacts that were deleted had identifiers added to them, such as coroner, chief deputy, pastor, and bakery barn. They could see that someone attempted to log into the phone account as if to read the text messages and call history the night before Crystal died. So I'm going to speculate here. This is not anything that Jana or any of Crystal's family has said, but in my opinion, if Crystal logged in because she was like, "You know what, I'm getting to the bottom of this. I want to know who he's texting and calling." It alerted that, "Hey, someone's trying to log in." It probably also alerted his phone. He probably saw it. Maybe that's a reason they could fight if they were fighting. Speculation. Okay, back to real life.
Did you
And
specify
then,
that Jana was Crystal's sister?
um, I don't think I did, but you did say thank you to Jana in the beginning.
I
So
don't know if I said,
Jana
Jana
is
is
Crystal's
Crystal's
sister.
sister,
Yeah.
so, I mean, I understand, like, you would go to the ends of the earth for your
Oh, yeah.
sister, so
Not everything that I'm saying, though, was done by Jana. I don't want someone to
yes,
use this to be like, "Oh, well, they said
correct.
Jana did this." Her entire family is involved in this. They are all helping. So, most of the time, I just say Crystal's family.
She was just the one that reached out to us to cover it, so
Correct. They could also see every place that Tony's phone traveled on the day of Crystal's death. So, let me tell you where Tony's phone went that day. At approximately 8 a.m., Tony's phone leaves his and Crystal's house and goes to work. At approximately 9 a.m., the phone arrives at a home for refrigerator repair. At approximately 10 a.m., he leaves the home of the refrigerator repair. When I say he, I mean the phone. Because I don't know where Tony is, but this is where his phone is, okay? At
fitting
10:53
facts,
a.m.
like you said.
Yeah. At 10:53 a.m., the phone arrives at an address that is listed on Google Maps as quote unquote work, but is the exact address of the West Carroll Sheriff's Department, the department that will soon be at their house investigating a suicide. By the way, all of this happens in Louisiana. I meant to add that at the beginning. West Carroll, Louisiana. So it's 10:53. Tony's phone is at the sheriff's department.
Why?
Um, at 11:09, Tony's phone leaves the sheriff's department. I want to interject here. Exactly 16 minutes. Tony's location puts him at the sheriff's department. Though any time this has been asked about to officers, according to the information I've seen, they have never admitted to knowing why his location put him there, and he has never admitted to being there. During this period is also the time the coroner initially wrote down for Crystal's estimated time of death, approximately 11 a.m. For clarification, his home is 15-minute drive from the sheriff's department. So, according to his phone's location, he is exactly 15 minutes away from his house for exactly 15 minutes. Really good alibi, Tony. Moving on. His phone leaves the sheriff's department and drives 2 minutes down the road to Bakery Barn. Remember, this is an identifier for one of the contacts he deleted. Bakery Barn.
Why?
I
That was the only
don't know.
random one. Like, it was like, "Please stuff bakery barn." I'm like,
Who are you meeting at Bakery Barn?
yeah.
He got to Bakery Barn at 11:11 and left at 11:53 and headed to the school. Approximately 12:01, he arrived at the school to work, interjecting again to point out that Tony is an unlicensed freelance handyman.
Yes.
Sorry, not sorry, but schools don't usually hire nobodies. I
Yeah.
don't know how they do things in Louisiana, but even here in Alabama, you have to be licensed and insured and have a
To
background check
walk
to
into a
get,
school. Yeah.
yeah, to get into a place where there are children, even to do a job. Like, and
Which
let me tell you, Tony's
kudos
not
to
passing the
that.
background check.
Yeah.
Okay, back to the timeline. Tony's phone stays at the school until 2:43 p.m. But while his phone is there, a package is delivered at his house. At 1:16 p.m., FedEx delivers a package to the door. The FedEx delivery person that day is related by marriage to Crystal. Usually, when she makes a delivery to Crystal's home or nearby, she asks to come inside and use the restroom. My dad's a mailman. I get it. He delivers in his own neighborhood. He goes home to use the restroom, okay? There's not that many
You know
places
what?
to stop.
Never considered that as a
Yeah,
possible obstacle for male people until now.
it is. The delivery driver stated that on this day, she remembers, again, 1:16 p.m. Tony's phone is at school. She remembers seeing both Crystal's Tahoe and presumably Tony's white work truck in the driveway. So she knocked on the door several times to try to get someone's attention because she had to use the restroom. No one ever came to the door to let her in, though. The package she dropped off contained a new cell phone for Tony. So even though he just got his phone fixed the day before, deleted all those contacts, he had a new phone delivered and activated it later that night, the night his wife was found dead in their home. Um, anyway, tangents of mine. Okay, so Tony was at the
Yeah, this
school.
is all normal behavior.
Normal. Tony was at the school until 2:43 p.m. That is the time when he checked out his teen daughter and left. They went to Sonic after this, but the 6.2-mile drive that Google Maps claims takes 9 minutes took Tony 35 minutes to drive. His phone, according to location records, was moving so slowly that at some points it wasn't even registered as being in motion. Like it was just a walking pace, slowly strolling through a neighborhood.
So there was no way it could have been in a car.
Or if it was, like, he was avoiding something? Like, why are you going so slow? What are you doing? What are you doing? I don't know. Okay, they get to Sonic at 3:25. From 3:25 to 3:57, they sit in Sonic. Outside Sonic, I don't know. The phone is at Sonic. Then another extremely slow drive takes place, and he goes to Walmart 1 mile away. Takes him 6 minutes. And arrives to Walmart at 4:03 p.m. From 4:03 until about 4:16, he's just in the Walmart parking lot. They don't go inside Walmart. Then he Googles the doctor's office at 4:16. We do not have call history, but I assume this is when he makes the phone call to the doctor, finds out that Crystal didn't go, makes a call to his neighbor, hears about his wife, because he leaves the area at 4:37 p.m. and arrives home at 4:51 p.m. While en route home, he calls Crystal's family, probably others, but we don't have his call history, to let them know of her passing. His location services show that he went exactly the speed limit all the way home. Crystal's sister made it to the home in record time, probably breaking multiple traffic laws along the way,
And I
as
was
would
gonna
I.
say, if you knew something was wrong with your wife and that she was dead, would you not wanna get there immediately?
And why are you moseying in the Walmart parking lot? What
You
the fuck are you
fuck.
doing?
I'm so mad. I would break laws too.
Yeah,
Fuck.
big time.
I don't know
Um,
any police officer that would give you a ticket for that. Like, sorry.
fucking follow me,
Yeah,
dude.
yeah, right?
Follow me.
Clear the way. Let's go.
Yeah. Um, while Jana, Crystal's sister, was there, she made note of hearing an officer say to Tony, quote, "We still have to do an autopsy," end quote. At first thought, that probably just means we won't know for sure what happened until we do an autopsy. But remember, the officer told him that night a self-inflicted single gunshot wound to the head. So then when you look back at it, it makes me wonder, did Tony say something like, "It's a suicide. That means you don't need to do an autopsy, right?" Or maybe he disguised it by saying something like, "I want to have a funeral right away. Since it's obviously a suicide, you don't need her body for an autopsy, right?" I don't know. This is just my brain, guys. Giving you insight to my brainwaves. Okay. The autopsy itself was also a shit show.
Ugh.
Her name was spelt wrong.
Are you
Her
kidding
hair
me?
color said blondish brown when it's actually very dark brown, almost black. Her eye color said hazel, while she describes them as brown.
That's
It
rude.
said all female organs were unremarkable, even though she literally had surgery, which makes most of them not there. That seems pretty remarkable to me.
Yeah.
It said there were no obvious fractures or abnormalities to her spine, cervical, or thoracic, even though she was in a car accident 12 years prior that caused extreme damage, broken back, broken sternum, and multiple broken ribs. Although she was better now, it was still an identifying marking on her that should have been
Yeah.
noted. But her family didn't know about any of this until much later, after the funeral. So we gotta get back to like the timeline here. After Crystal's body was taken by the coroner, her family was still in shock. They were helping Tony as best as they could, and they didn't have the computer with all of this fishy information yet. But looking back, they found more interesting tidbits. For example, 5 days after Crystal's death, Tony's account Googled, quote, "What is the appropriate time to date after the death of a spouse?" End quote. It's 5 days. 5 days later.
Oh my god.
He also attempted to get Crystal's life insurance money that day, but unfortunately or fortunately, she hadn't worked at the insurance agency long enough for that benefit to kick in yet.
Yeah.
Tony allegedly double and triple checked by going into the agency and talking to the manager himself. Like, why the fuck don't I get this money? Hmm.
As an unlicensed handyman, I clearly need it. Fuck.
Freelance, unlicensed freelance.
Yeah. Yeah, work's unreliable.
When they were preparing for the funeral, Tony said that he didn't have any money to cover expenses, so Crystal's family started a GoFundMe and tried their best to make ends meet for him. They did her makeup, they went out and bought her a dress, they found someone to do her hair. But while they were getting her looking like herself again, they noticed things on her body that even the funeral home director said quote, "None of these injuries would be the result of an autopsy process," end quote. Obviously, they took pictures. Crystal had abrasions, lacerations, and bruising on her left forearm, extensive bruising on her legs and inner thighs, and despite her freshly manicured nails on a perfectionist, she was missing a fingernail on her left ring finger and had dirt and debris under all of her nails. There's photo evidence. The police don't care though. When Tony came in to see his wife and say goodbye to her, he brought a female friend with him to the funeral.
Go fuck
Uh,
yourself, Tony. I'm
this
sorry.
woman was not related to Crystal or Tony in any way. Just a female
I'm
friend,
not
you know?
sorry, but I'm mad.
Yeah. 1 week after Crystal's death, Tony called Crystal's family to let them know that he had just found the shell casing in the bedroom where she was found dead. I don't even think they knew it wasn't found at the scene when police were there. So Tony telling them he just found it feels like cocky. Like, what the why are you telling them this? He also asked them not to mention it to the
And if it was
police.
self-inflicted and no one was there, the shell casing would have been evident right away.
He asked them not to mention it to police as a favor. Obviously, they did. They fucking mentioned it to police.
Good.
But the investigators said that it was an oversight. They apologized for not grabbing it while they were there. That's as far as it went. Like, this dude just found it. They're like, "Oh, that was our fault. Sorry about that.
My
I'll
bad.
go grab it.
My bad
Let me just pick it up for you."
for my shoddy police work.
After the funeral, Crystal's body was immediately cremated at the request of her husband, her legal next of kin, even though the autopsy hadn't even officially been released yet. It wasn't released until 2 days later, and that is when her family noticed all the discrepancies. They also, now with her computer, began piecing together all of this information. They tried to hire lawyers, but none in the area were willing to go against the police, who were unwilling to help despite being presented with all of this information. Her family even went to the district attorney, who refused to admit any wrongdoing having happened in her police department. After Crystal was cremated and Tony realized that her family was suspicious of his behavior, he weaponized his deceased wife against them. He logged into her Facebook and blocked them, making them unable to look back at her photos and memories. He refused to provide them with her remains, though he did eventually send some without proper documentation to her sons. He even reported their GoFundMe as a misuse of funds, although GoFundMe did an investigation and cleared them of any wrongdoing.
And it helped pay for your fucking sorry ass. Like,
Yeah. Well, they wouldn't give him the leftover money that they used to buy a why can't I think of the word? Tombstone with. And so he was
still.
mad. He was so mad. He's like,
Oh.
"No, I need that." They're like, "No, it's not for you. It's for Crystal." He also started posting terrible things about them on Facebook, making a mockery of mental health, the very thing that he alleges killed his wife. In one post, he said, quote, "Man, all I can say is already y'all have mental problems. You all need to get some help." End quote.
S
This was 16 days after his wife allegedly completed suicide. The coroner's full report that her family waited months to see has obvious errors all over it. The time, I don't know what the time is, okay? It just says time. The time says 10:35, but then it was crossed out and 5:05 was written in. We'll get back to that. Her name is spelled wrong. In the coroner's report, it's spelled Chrystal, when her name is actually just spelled the common way, Crystal. Like, why are you trying to make it sound like it's just the common way? It's not like it was something crazy that
it's not like my
they couldn't
name.
remember.
Yeah, like,
Yeah, it's the common way.
weird.
The word crystal.
Yeah. Like the beautiful gemstone.
Yeah. Her body temperature, it says body temperature. You're supposed to write it a temperature. It was listed as cold. They just
Did a
cold.
coroner
They
do
didn't
this autopsy, or did some Joe Schmo just come in and fill out the form?
under marks and wounds, it says, quote, "None. Gunshot wound to the right side of head, blah, blah, blah," end quote. It
But her
continues.
family
But
noticed all of these markings on her.
yeah, also, why doesn't it just say gunshot to the right side of the head? Why does it start with none? Why did they use the word none
Yeah.
when clearly there's a fucking
That
gunshot
that's the
wound?
definition of a wound and marking.
Under personal history, her past attempted suicide by overdose was not listed, which seems like that would be pertinent information,
Relevant if that was something you used to prove it was a suicide.
right? Under disease, it said, quote, insomnia, anxiety, and atrial fibrillation, end quote, and, quote, other diabetic had diarrhea, pneumonia, and a history of seizures,
Oh
end
my
quote.
god, most of those are not diseases.
Also, only insomnia and anxiety are true. All of the other ones are false. So why
Then
are they
what is
even there?
diarrhea relevant with a gunshot wound being listed as the cause of death?
No idea. Also, she's not a diabetic. She does not have a history of seizures. She did not have pneumonia. Why do they write all this random shit?
It's like they're trying to put a catch-all in there.
The
What?
errors and inconsistencies go on and on.
That's
And
heartbreaking
also,
and
a
disrespectful.
gunshot residue test was never done
I was really hoping you were gonna get there.
on anybody.
Neither of them?
Nobody. Just not done. Not checked at all.
I can guarantee that she would not. Oh, I'm so mad.
And she's cremated.
Cremated.
So, all of the evidence gathered by Crystal's family and their private investigation point to, at the very least, needing this case to be looked into further by fresh, unbiased eyes, but I don't know if
100%.
that will ever happen. It doesn't help that her body is no longer there to investigate, but the police are also not helping at all. Her family has had to gather information for themselves, compile it, FOIA for it. They've seen multiple different versions of the same reports.
Not to
Even
mention
lawyers
the financial implications of
mhm,
all of this.
even lawyers are unwilling to help because they don't wanna go against the officers and the district attorney in the areas. At first, I was thinking that the officers, the DA, they had realized that they fucked up so badly, and they're just trying to sweep it under the rug and forget about it. But after reading everything that Crystal's family has sent us, I'm starting to think that the officers may have had something to do with this and are complicit in some way, not just negligent. This is the only reason that I can think of for them to be this fucking dumb
Well, I was wondering
about
if
this
it was
case.
2 people because of his, like, weird phone activity with his daughter,
Same.
like, was he killing time for somebody to be able to go in there and leave?
Yeah,
We are speculating wildly, but that's
we are.
suspicious as fuck.
Let me get to the thing that made me the very most angry because this was mentioned on multiple podcasts and no one else caught it or said anything anyway. And I was just like the whole time screaming at my phone. Okay. So the investigating officer and the district attorney has told Crystal's family that the time of death on the government issued death certificate is wrong and that a time of death is impossible to determine unless someone witnesses the person die. The officer's exact quote in a phone call conversation about the time of death being 11 o'clock on the death certificate was, quote, there is no time of death. And if you're looking at a death certificate that's got a time of death on it, there is absolutely no way that anybody could put an exact time of death. I don't care who they are, and I don't mind telling you that. That is certainly there is no way they can make a determination who signed off. End quote. Crystal's family member says the coroner's office. The officer responds, quote, that is absolutely false. There is absolutely no way any human being on this earth can say that she died at 11 o'clock. There is absolutely no way. And if you go line up 10 professionals that are in the same business. All 10 of them are going to tell you there is no way. End quote. Which makes me so mad because you can literally Google to find out that an estimated time of death is determined by liver and rigor mortis. It is 100% not impossible to determine an estimated time of death. I honestly think that the time on the coroner's report when I was like, I don't fucking know why they wrote that time. 10:35? Uh-huh. Uh, I think that was the estimated time of death. And I think that someone, like probably one of these officers, went and crossed it out with pen and wrote 5:05 because that was the time the body was seen by officials as dead. That is not the way time of death is determined. You don't wait until you see the body dead and say it's dead. Like, I mean, yeah, now you can say it's dead, but there is science, guy. Like,
Like, you think that the original
science.
time of death that was listed was possibly an estimate, and they crossed it out to be 6 hours
Yeah, I
prior.
think I think they cross it later.
Later, yeah.
I think they crossed it out to show the time that they arrived.
Yeah.
Like, "Oh, we didn't get there till 5, so I don't know if it was dead before 5, so it has to say 5." That's what I think they did. I don't know. But then if the time of death is 5, that changes everything. His entire timeline doesn't fucking matter because the
No,
time of death is listed as 5.
exactly. But,
So,
like, that besides gunpowder residue, besides all of those things, that would be a way that you would determine if it could possibly be self-inflicted. That
yeah,
and the Ring doorbell footage being removed is weird and turned
the
off
Ring
because then
doorbell
you can't
footage.
see anyone coming into the house.
Exactly. The Ring doorbell footage being turned off is fucking, premeditation to me.
Yeah,
Um,
and then it being deleted.
Deleting the contacts out of your phone is like, "Oh, these people are gonna help me get away with something. Let me delete them, so if my phone is taken for evidence, they're not even in my contacts." Like, everything to me adds up
This is
to
just,
he
like,
did
too
it
much
and he had
weird
help.
in one yeah.
It is. It's ugh, I don't like it.
Like, mad. I'm mad for
I'm mad.
yeah.
Crystal's sister Jana went to Washington, D.C. with a handful of other family members of other suspicious death victims to speak in front of the Senate about their loved ones. Jana believed that her speech went over well. She believed that the senator was on her side. Unfortunately, the Louisiana State Police Department decided that they would not reopen Crystal's suicide case to investigate it as a homicide, at least not yet. However, a month later, when Crystal's family was FOIAing for more in relation to her case, the investigator, who has gotten himself a lawyer for some weird reason,
Weird.
uh, claimed that Crystal's case, quote unquote, remains open. However, calling it an open case protects him from having to discuss it with news reporters.
Yep.
So I think he's using that as an excuse, not actually investigating. Crystal's sister, Jana, is trying to get this case as much attention as possible in order to receive justice for Crystal. This
Yeah.
is already long, but there is so much more information to support that. Again, at the very least, the case needs to be reopened and reinvestigated. All of the information that has been gathered can be sent to any other podcast that wants to cover this case. Jana is, I'm sure, willing and wanting to share this information. Please let your other favorite podcasters know about this story to help spread the word. And please check out the show notes to sign the change.org petition to reopen the investigation into the death of Crystal McCrory Jones. You can follow along for updates on the Facebook group Justice for Crystal McCrory Jones. That's that.
Oh my
That is
god.
that.
Did you already sign the petition?
um, I don't remember. If I did, I have multiple emails, so I can do it again.
Mhm. Yeah, I was gonna say, I'll do that. My heart is so sad for her family because it's like anything like this could happen to anybody at any time, and you wanna believe that the right people are looking into it and that justice will be served for your family member, but then it's like this could potentially happen. And honestly, even just like the bits on her autopsy report, just like all being wrong is so
Yeah,
disrespectful and just like
yeah,
fuck you. Like fuck you. I'm sorry. Like at least at the very least get somebody's basic human anatomy and name right. Like
yeah.
so I am so sorry to her family that they are going through this and that they have had to put out their own funds to make all of this happen. Like,
The, anniversary 2-year anniversary of Crystal's death just passed. They did have a really big, um, food fundraiser. A
oh,
lot of people
good.
showed up. The news was there. She is getting attention in that town in Louisiana, but I had never heard this case even mentioned before she sent it to us,
Yeah,
and
me
so I'm
neither.
just trying to help it spread further. Um,
Absolutely.
she has, it seems, a lot of support in town, but it needs to spread further. We need to be
Agreed.
louder.
Agreed. Well, thank you for taking this on. Thank you, Jana, for sending it to us and putting it on our radar. I know a lot of our friends in our podcast community are going to be covering this as well, which is amazing. So, again, like Sierra said, and I'm sure in Jana's words, please go and tell your favorite podcasts.
Please do.
And yeah, tell people about this, especially if you live in the area. Be a part of these fundraisers if you can too, because
Yeah,
God, it makes my heart so sad.
it's
Yeah.
anger-inducing for sure. Speaking of red things, let's talk about something a little happy before we go.
Yes.
Um, is there anything specific that you wanted to bring up? I have something that I was gonna bring up that is a red thing, so that's why I said that.
Mine's a red thing too, and also
Yay!
Valentine's related because that's
Same!
where I went at the beginning of the episode. Happy Heart Day to all of our twisted humans. I know that this is a week later that you're listening to this, but I hope you all felt loved and safe. And again, go and listen to the podcast You Should Be Here because it highlights on loved and safe things this time of year. But my happy thing is that Kevin and I are gonna have a little Friday, Saturday adventure together, and we have bought fancy steak and stuff to make Caesars and just make a night of it. And him and I haven't really had a lot of quality time in a long time. So this is very long overdue and exciting, and I'm happy about it. And yeah, what about you?
That is very exciting. I have a literal red thing. This is my gift to Jesse that he doesn't know he's getting. But I finally found us some actual real copper mugs for our Moscow mules, and I'm
That's
so excited.
exciting.
They were gosh
Wait, are
dang
those your oh,
expensive,
I was like,
but
was that your thrift store find?
no, those ones I found those ones, but I can't get them clean enough because it's really hard to clean copper once it starts to patina.
Yeah.
So I bought new ones. I found new, pretty fresh ones, and I'm excited, and he
Those
doesn't
will
know it
be your
yet.
guys'
And then
cocktail
yeah.
mug. Aw.
And then I also made I have 2 clients, facial clients who come every single month. They've never missed a month. And so I made each of them a Valentine's gift for their next appointment.
Aw.
One already got it. The next one I was supposed to do her on Valentine's Day, but now it's after Valentine's Day. Anyway, I got them little face masks and eye massage tools and my
That's
favorite
so sweet of
chapstick
you.
and little Ghirardelli chocolate candy squares, and I'm so happy that I can
Spread
spoil
some
people.
love. Spread some
Yeah.
love.
Yeah.
That's what it's all about, whether it's your lover or your friends or whatever.
Right.
I see all these Galentine's Day parties and things, and I'm like, "Why do all of my friends live so far away?"
I
Especially you. I'm just
know.
like, "I wish I could go on a
God,
Galentine's date with you."
I wish you were here. Sissy had a Galentine's Day party,
I
and
saw that. That was so cute.
oh my god, I regretted it so much. I'm just like, there's so many children in my house, but they had fun, and that's all that matters. So,
Was that your whose hou when you
that was Jesse's mom's house.
oh, okay. I'm like, love all of your people, and,
Mhm.
we will see you guys next week for my A special topic? No.
It's
No.
tomorrow.
No. What am I doing tomorrow? Cult episode. I'm like, what are my notes on? We will see you for my cult episode next week, and in the meantime,
Keep
keep
it
it
twisted.
twisted.
Twisted and Uncorked is a proud member of Weirding Way Media. Hosted and produced by Sierra Zorn and Alicia Watson. If you like the show, don't forget to leave a 5-star rating and review wherever you are listening now. It really is the best way to spread the word. You can check out all things Twisted on our website, twistedanduncorked.com, and we will see you next Tuesday for a brand new episode.